Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, rather had gonna
Yeah. All right. So you are obsessed with pickleball. You're kind of on the periphery. You go up to Steve Kuhn. You call him Pickleball Daddy, which we should trademark. But like at some point, the light bulb goes off. You're like, I'm gonna go to maybe some of them were your clients, right? They'd probably be like the perfect people to approach. But I'm gonna go find a group of investors. They're gonna bet on me that I'm the person to pull this all together, and we're gonna buy a Major League Pickleball team. So that would be like the definition of go getter, right? What Alex Cooper probably thinks you are. So, like, what is the process of actually saying, okay, I want to try and put together an ownership group. I want to go get these investors, and then I want to acquire a team. Like, what was that actually like?
It was, I don't want to say easy, but it wasn't that difficult because I love the sport so much. At this point, I was, a year and a half deep into being obsessed with pickleball, reading everything about it. So I kind of felt I felt very educated on the sport. Like there weren't a lot of questions people could ask me about the sport that like I couldn't answer. And if I didn't know them, I'd say it. But at this point, everyone was investing in teams off of the belief and the hope in the future. There were no numbers behind it. No teams are, still very few teams are making any real revenue. Obviously, sponsorship has been a huge push for some of these teams, but most teams still aren't making a lot of money. No one's, writing home on merch sales. There's no ticket revenue coming back to teams yet. So like it was all on speculation that this is a hot sport. It could be a major league sport. I saw what the NWSL, the Women's Pro Soccer League, had went through for 10 years. They started leagues, they collapsed, they went bankrupt, multiple iterations to get to NWSL today. And now teams are, I think the last one was valued at like 100 million, the LA team. So, and it started off with them playing in the shittiest venues, playing at like Rutgers Stadium, having horrible housing. Like I've seen what my pro soccer friends went through. So I sort of saw it as, there's people that are invested in this sport that understand how big this can be because of the access, right? If we just get the people that are playing the sport to actually watch the sport, that's all we need. We don't need to convert, soccer fans to pickleball fans. But to answer your question, it wasn't that difficult because we had connections. We knew that we could rely on some of the people that we know to invest in this. And honestly, we had more than enough. Capital wasn't the issue. It was who did we want to partner with strategically to put ourselves in the best position to grow the league and grow our team.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I think probably the biggest name on your cap table was Tom Brady. Did you ever get to interact with him? Or is it like totally, it was just his investor group and his name was slapped on it? He recorded that video and was like, see you later.
Yeah. I really would love to answer all of these questions, but I just feel like this is not the best time for me to do it. So I'm going to try to not talk about the Night Owls. But yeah, it was not my connection whatsoever. And great to be, he is an absolute legend. I'm so impressed with his, what he did for football and his story. Really resonated. I bought his book before I was even attached to the team because I just loved how much how much passion he continuously brought to football. And I think what he's doing today, being a broadcaster, is absolutely incredible too. The way he carries himself, I really, really respect and love him. But I didn't get to talk to him. No.
So he that was a lot of good compliments, but it sounds like he recorded the video and said, see you later. But you don't have to. You don't have to
I don't
confirm.
know.
You don't have to confirm or deny.
Yeah, but I mean, look, he like that like 10x to the followers. I mean, that did like launch. That's huge. I mean, that's something that people would pay millions of dollars for to be on Tom Brady's feed. So like, sure, he says that and see you later, but like that's a legitimately probably a 7-figure asset right there. I guess it's not necessarily, and well, I'm getting into my accounting terms, but it was a great asset.
I mean, I think at the time when we had purchased the team, I believe that Kevin Durant was already announced. I cannot remember if LeBron was announced. He was announced. LeBron was also announced. So you had like a good backing of A-listers, I would call it, like household names that people already knew. Obviously, Tom is incredible. But yeah, I feel like there was already a lot of celebrities involved in MLP. And it wasn't this, difficult ask to get capital. I think there was a lot of people that would have invested in it at the time. And once like news dropped that we were buying a team, like so many people reached out to me. They're like, how can we get our hands on one? And then I feel like the next level and the next group of people that bought, like, really had to have a strategic plan of why they were buying, really had to be like a bigger name, not just like mom and pop shop buying a team. They had to have some connections. And I think the next set was like the St. Louis Shock and maybe the Chicago Slice, if I'm correct.
Yeah, they were a little bit after you, both of those teams, I believe.
And they've invested a lot. Like those teams, I give credit to those teams. We obviously, Zane and I went to Wrigley Field in Chicago, and it was the St. Louis Shock versus the Chicago Slice. And, those ownership groups are putting a lot up front for hopes of a return, to get something out of it in the future. But I think they see the long-term play. And I think that's kind of what you have to do in this position. Like you may not see, anything for a decade, 5 years, 10 years. But I think at the end of the day, if you believe in the sport, DC Pickleball team's another team that I think does a really good job. Orlando Squeeze. There's a few teams that definitely that do it better than others.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, you can sort of tell what people are sort of in this for by their actions within MLP, right? I mean, you have the teams that are like, frankly, blowing money, right? Like, but they're really trying to take this to a more legitimate professional sport, paying for travel, taking teams out to dinner, having these events. None of these events are making money. Like you said, none of the merch sales are making money, but like you're building a brand for down the road. And the teams, the Chicago Slices or Squeeze and Jersey Fives, and I'm missing plenty of them, but the expense that they have of bringing us to Wrigley Field is helping the entire league. And, you do have some of the owners of other teams that might have gotten in before this was the same sort of investment that it's become. And so you have an interesting sort of contrast between owners of the super, super invested and then the ones that are like, this kind of ballooned out to something that I probably can't financially support. I still want to be involved. I still love pickleball, but it's kind of either do nothing with the team, sell the team, or kind of get out. So, I mean, you can tell who's in it for the long haul by the amount of money that it seems like they're willing to lose in the short term.
Yeah, I think, again, I think my learnings from the NWSL are helpful in this case when I'm thinking about it. There are owners that are going to be what I think like bought out by strategic investors in the future that are willing to spend a lot of money up front for the benefit of the team and the league in the future. So, we're seeing some of that. We're seeing some, take some money off the table and bring in some smarter, bigger names, bigger people that want to start building brands in the local community and start and really start marketing it, which I think is really helpful. And I think, it's going to take a long time. I think the sport is just at its infancy.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, dollar has gonna